Soon enough, in several weeks, I'm gonna be 17 years old. Isn't that crazy, man? Now, I can still remember my early childhood. I can still remember my kindergarten years. I can remember my early school years. I can remember all of that. And it just feels so unreal to have to face the fact that time is marching on forward. And soon enough, I'm gonna be 17 years old. That's close enough to 18. I'm gonna be close enough to being an adult. And this is something that my younger self, my 10-year-old, 9-year-old self, could not even comprehend. I could not comprehend the fact that I'm gonna soon enough be old enough to be capable of driving a car, of building a family, of going out into the world and having to face my own problems and my own hardship. Imagine that. Imagine being a 9-year-old and thinking about this exact moment when you're gonna end up being 17 years old. You're genuinely not capable of comprehending it, are you? No, you just smile to yourself or you have a shiver down your spine and you just think to yourself, well, that's gonna be in such a long time. And you just cannot comprehend the passing of time when you're this young. And now that I think back on it, it's like barely any time has passed. This is the weird part about all of this. When you're in the process of living, when you're basically living, time goes on very slowly, doesn't it? Day by day, hour by hour. But when you think back on it, it's like it's all just went by like that. And weirdly enough, instead of having all of these negative feelings and insecurities about the passing of time, although I've genuinely had a few of these times, when I've been thinking, when I've had some insecure thoughts about this, I've had some anxiety thinking to myself, I'm 17 years old, for God's sake, I'm almost an adult, my childhood is over. But aside from that, I reminded myself of the fact that time passes on, that whatever I do, that whatever you do, that whatever any of us in this world do, time marches on, and it doesn't wait for anybody. And so instead of feeling as if my childhood is over and there's so many other things that I wish I would have done, instead of thinking about that, instead of finding all the things that I regret to have done in the past and bring them back up to the surface and feel bad about them once again and feel horrible and regret all of these things, I feel grateful. I honestly feel grateful for the fact that I've had such an amazing childhood, for the fact that I've lived a childhood in which I was capable of growing myself. I was capable of developing along with a beautiful family, along with people who truly cared about me, who loved me. I'm grateful for the fact that my childhood has manifested itself in the way that it has, because else I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I know that sounds very corny, but that's the truth. If it weren't for all of their past mistakes and regrets and problems and hardship, you wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't have this different state of mind today. There's a story that my history teacher in high school last year told the class, and it still remains with me today. So imagine this king who wants to have a ring made for him, like this piece of jewelry made for him, which holds a lot of meaning and insight to him, but he doesn't really know what to put on the ring. So he goes to this worker, this iron worker, whatever you want to call them, the ones that work with metals and everything. And he tells him, I want you to make me this ring that will be very insightful and meaningful to me. And then he just leaves or something, right? And this guy, this poor guy, who is probably this is the first time that he's spoken to the king, he has this meaningful task, which will probably, if done wrong, will probably cost his head or something. I don't know, it's like the Middle Ages, right? He's thinking about what the hell he could say. What could he genuinely put on a ring that will be so meaningful and important to the king? And so while he's just sitting there, upset and just thinking and full of anxiety and insecurity, there's this wise guy that passes along, this old fella, right? He asks this guy why he is upset, right? And he tells him that, the king's given him the ring and he wants to make it very insightful and he doesn't know what he should put on it and he feels a bit scared. And this old wise guy, he tells him, put this on a ring. Put this following quote, "This will pass as well." Now think about that. This will pass as well. So basically, once the iron worker puts that quote, "This will pass as well," on the ring and gives it to the king will always look at his ring. He will always tend to look at his ring, right? I mean, you kind of look at your hand sometimes and you notice what is written on the ring. And so through good times, through happy times, this king will look at his ring, which says, "This will pass as well." And that will remind him about the passing of time and the fact that time doesn't slow down for anybody. And he'll enjoy those moments more, knowing that they will pass, that these beautiful, happy moments will pass one day. And also in hard times, when he looks at his ring, when there's something hard and difficult in his life, he will look at his ring and see the quote, "This will pass as well." And he'll understand that even though this is a hard moment in his life, even though difficulty is here and on him, the hard times are here, they will pass because everything passes. Time doesn't slow down for anybody. Time marches on, no matter the circumstance. I don't know, man. Like, this is a weird side tangent, but I genuinely think that the quote "this will pass as well." It's very interesting, and it's stuck with me since last year. What if we were all to think like that? What if we were all to have this imaginary ring on our finger 24/7, which says "this will pass as well," and we would constantly have a look at it every once in a while throughout the day? What if we were to constantly remind ourselves of the fact that time will pass by, that time passes on, that things move forward, that whatever you do, it will be in the past at a certain point. And the future at a certain point will be the past. And the present moment will be the past as well. And the past is not something that we can control. The present and the future are things that we have control over, right? There are certain things that we can change about the present and the future. The past is something that remains the past. It's only something that we can look back on, and we get to choose whether we look back on it with pride, with happiness, or with resentment and anger. So choose to look back on your past with pride, with happiness, with joy. Don't make decisions that will make you end up regretting them when you're going to be on your deathbed, when you're going to be dying, when the world will suddenly crumble in on you, and you will have a few last thoughts, and you realize just how little you've done, just how many stupid wrong things you've done along the way that were genuinely not needed, and how you could have lived such a more amazing life, such a more fulfilling existence. I don't want to be on my deathbed and think about that, man. To some extent, for some people, that might be the definition of hell. To be in your last moments of life, drawing in your last breaths, and to think about the past. Think about how horrible your past has been. Just how miserable you have been. In your last breaths, everything that will be in your mind is just regret and misery. And that is not something that I want to go through. And I don't think you do as well. You see, we as human beings, we only have one life. We're mortal beings. We die one day. And our lives, compared to the infinity of the universe, to the infinity of time, it's like doesn't even exist. 80, 90 years. It's like something that is basically incomprehensible in the big scheme of things. So for God's sake, use the remaining part of your life to your advantage. Live it according to your own authentic desires. If you haven't found your authentic desires yet, then dedicate as much time and as much effort as you possibly can to finding them and then dedicating your life to those things. Because again, at the end of the day, when you're going to look back on everything, when you're going to look back on your life while the sun is setting, do you really want to feel that anger and regret and misery for not having done what was truly authentic and what you truly desired? And instead, you've only went by what other people have told you. You've only done what other people have imposed onto you. That's no way to live, man. Just think about the long term. Think about your future. If you keep living in accordance with what other people tell you have to be, instead of what you truly feel like you have to be. If you keep doing what some other people out there are telling you that you have to do, or if you keep avoiding what some other people are avoiding because I don't know why, you just feel like you should, because you're afraid of social rejection. You're afraid of feeling like you're rejected by some random people out there. Think about the way that your life will be. Think about yourself on your deathbed, looking back on this right now. Work through the rest of your life in accordance with your authentic desires. Stop trying to please everyone. Stop trying to please anyone but yourself. You must work and you must do what's right by you, no matter what that is. If you don't end up hurting and destroying other people's lives, then do it, for God's sake. If it's something that is completely within your reach and it's not something that will ruin another person's life, then do it. Then work towards what you have to work towards, or else you'll end up regretting this certain moment for the rest of your life. Don't be afraid of other people's opinions. There is genuinely no time for that. On another note, I've heard this really interesting concept. Imagine if everything in your life, everything that you own, including your body, has been borrowed to you. It is not something that you truly own. Just imagine that concept, right? It might seem weird. It's worth thinking about this. And so what do you usually do if you're a good human being and you've been borrowed something from another person that you care about, right? What do? Well, you keep that thing safe. You keep it in good condition. And when time comes to give it back, you're going to be grateful for having been borrowed this thing for this certain amount of time. And you're going to give it back to the person and you're going to thank the person. Thank you. Thank you for borrowing me this certain thing. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm grateful for it. So I believe that this is what we must do with everything in our lives, everything in this material world, including our own bodies. We don't actually own what we have. The universe, nature, the Lord above, whoever that might be for you, they have borrowed us all of these things that we see around us, and including our bodies. So it is our duty as human beings, once that we have been borrowed these things, to keep them in good condition. And once that we have to give back those things that we've borrowed, our lives, our bodies, the things, the objects around us, be grateful that you've been able to have this certain thing for this certain period of time. You've been granted, you've been gifted this thing from circumstance, and to circumstance it will go back to. We come from earth, and to earth we shall go. You know, it's like we have been borrowed from Mother Nature, from the universe, from the Lord. We have been borrowed this body. We have been borrowed this existence that we have. And one day we will have to give it back. You know, imagine that you have this very nice mug. Like, imagine this mug, right? Imagine this Centurion mug, bro. Like, look at it. It's amazing. Look at that, it's an amazing Centurion mug that I got from the Tank Museum. I love this mug. I drink water every day from it. I love it. But you know, one day something will happen and I won't have this mug anymore. You know, maybe I'll fumble around and I'll drop it on the floor and it'll break in a million pieces. But once that day comes, instead of being sad that I've broken the mug and I feel horrible about myself, because this mug holds a lot of resemblance to me, I'll be happy for the fact that I've had this mug for such a long time, that I've been able to drink from it and I've been able to enjoy it. And now it's gone back to its original owner, whoever that might be. But you know, compared to the mug, I believe that we have to give our bodies back in good condition. We've been born healthy. Most of us, I believe, and I hope, we've been born healthy, without many complications, without problems. We've been raised in a healthy way. We've had the possibility of having the full human experience with our bodies. We've been capable of running, of walking, of hearing, of seeing, of tasting something, of touching something and feeling that, of not having too much pain in your body for no reason. We've been able to have the full human experience with our bodies. And so I believe it is our duty to take care of our bodies, to keep them in good shape, in good condition, in good health, and return them old, wise, and yet still healthy. Now, this is a concept that Seneca talks about, this ancient philosopher from Rome. He talks about the same exact concept, that we have had our bodies borrowed from a higher force, and that one day we'll have to give them back. So why not give them back with more knowledge, with gratefulness, with gratitude? Why not return them old and wise? And when that day comes, and I know this might sound very hard to understand, and it's quite difficult for me as well. When that day comes, we have to look back on the life that we've lived with gratitude and pride. We mustn't be sad. We must be grateful for the life that we've been capable of experiencing. Think about all the people before you and after you that will not get to experience this beautiful life. People who have died in horrible ways, in horrible places, with horrible circumstances. Those people haven't had as much as we have. And so it is our duty to live meaningful lives. It is our duty to work hard and to achieve what we have authentically desired. And one day, we will look back on this and we will look back with pride. So yeah, man, if you've gained any value from this video, which I believe holds a lot of meaning to everyone, I think we should all think more about our own mortality and understand that one day we will go, and that life isn't forever. And so if you've gained any value from this, then why not subscribe to the channel? You know, maybe like the video, share it with other people around. It'll help me and it'll help the algorithm send it to more people, and they'll eventually help other people find this and get some more value out of this as well. I have a Discord server as well. It's about self-improvement. You can join it. The link is in the description of the video. And by the way, I've started free coaching for one-to-one calls about self-improvement. It's absolutely for free. There's a Calendly link in the description of the video. You just have to press on it, schedule time with me, and we'll see each other then. We'll talk about any kind of problems that you have regarding self-improvement. We can talk about advice. We can talk about tips. We can talk about anything, right? So just schedule the call with me and we'll see each other then. So yeah, man. I genuinely hope that this video has been of value to you, because it's such a weird but interesting concept to think about, isn't it? And I think it will help a lot of us live better lives if we think more about this and we understand what it means. Good luck, man. I'll see you next time.